been a bit of my concern, especially the Orianas in the PCS, at least here in spring, have been a little bit lackluster, to say the very least. I think it was G4 and Moonblack both who ended up fanning on a multiple shockwaves. So we'll see whether or not they're able to shift that here. Let's go ahead and get ourselves into draft. Hong Kong Attitude going to be on your blue side, Resurgence on the red. Starting things off with, of course, the Syndra ban immediately away from Raven.
And the Trinity is complete, almost complete. Syndra, Zoe, and I guess whether or not a lot of these teams are willing to let go of LeBlanc, considering, again, we did mention how 50-50 the performance is. It will really depend how the game goes. And, you know, Karma has been the prio pick to some of these teams, considering, again, it has been flexed to either in that support role or perhaps even in the mid lane.
I'm not a huge fan, though, of that mid lane play we have been seeing. We saw it come out of Liab twice, and it felt like it was rather underperforming. And I think a lot of teams have been putting a little bit too many eggs in their bot lane basket. Now, interesting enough, we do get to see the Ezreal ban, and we are now on 10.12, so there is the option here of seeing Volibear onto the Rift. Maybe Resurgence might want to try and bring that out immediately if they have been practicing it. I want to see whether or not teams are still going to be putting such a high priority on the Aphelios, considering now that both the Yuumi and Ezreal being banned out.
Yeah, I mean, the story of last split, or rather the story of last week's bans is almost all the time Varus, and it is the first time we will see it in the summer split. So it just means that HKA is just willing to give away Aphelios to Mexi.
That might be the option here. We have mentioned that, you know, Varus has been 100% banned, but instead, Resurgence still could have the option to flex that Senna into the AD carry or the support. I want to know, have they been practicing this Volibear? Is Resurgence going to go ahead and lock it in? That is the case. We're going to have ourselves some bear action on the Rift for our first game of week 2.
Yeah, it's going to be the first time that we'll be seeing that Volibear. I mean, it has been that story when it comes to the spring split where, you know, Wukong will be open for the first time. It will not be banned. The same goes for Volibear, and it just means, again, HK is going to be very confident looking into this matchup. And just as you mentioned, you know, Senna can still be flexed either on the AD carry position or support. And, you know, it is patch 10.12. There has been adjustments to the mist drop, so the AD carry role will be a little bit juicy.
Now, my question is it going to be a Volibear in the jungle, or are we going to see it up in the top lane? Because I believe we've seen it both played in both positions before. I think over in LCK as well as Lek, we did get to see it a little bit. Interesting here for Hong Kong Attitude. Holo is opting in onto the Olaf, which is, again, a lot more of a power farm jungler, similar to this Graves hover that will also get locked in, so it's likely meaning we're going to see a Volibear for Shensekai.
Yeah, RSG was confident enough to lock in their own jungler as well after seeing what HKA decided to put on Holo. And in the meantime, though, things are looking really, really spicy as both teams are actually securing a lot of the power picks that they desire. Meanwhile, though, Wukong will be taken out of the table, assuming that maybe RSG is going to be playing into a really interesting swap, either maybe support.
Oh, that's a possibility, because we do see multiple mid lane bans still coming out here on the side of Resurgence. So getting rid of the Azir as well as the LeBlanc. There's still now options, especially for Raven, which we have seen back in spring. Not afraid to flex in onto those melee assassins, those AD assassins, and possibly bring that out here in their match against Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, exactly. Quite unpredictable for sure. And yeah, just as we mentioned, no Trinity of the mid lanes is going to be available. And for HKA, I believe they're removing, you know, possible pairs, support pairs for the Senna, just in case, as the Maokai and Wukong has been seen before at the bottom side of the map as support. Meanwhile, for HKA, what do they decide to put on towards Moonblack, and as well as Kartis facing that possible Volibear at Shinsekai?
Yeah, unless we have something really wacky coming out from Resurgence, I think we can feel pretty confident saying this Volibear is going to likely go up toward the top lane, but we're going to get ourselves a flex. That means likely, if it's PCS, I think it's going to be more of a Lucian mid coming out from Moonblack, as we rarely saw Varus actually go mid back in spring.
Yeah, I think it was picked a couple of times. It could also be top side Kartis on the Lucian too. Just to see whether or not Shinsekai will be indeed on this Volibear. And for now, we still don't know what Raven... Whoa.
Okay, so we are getting very wacky when it comes to this draft. They said, all right, well, We can flex this volley bear elsewhere. We don't have to run it in the top. Does that mean a mid volley bear, or are we getting a mid Cho'Gath? I don't know which one is better.
Mid Cho'Gath, I guess.
Because you're both going into a melee versus range matchup in both instances, or is this? No, it's not.
We will wait. No way.
Okay.
There.
I was wondering. I was like, mid Senna, come on now. Don't be playing with my heart like this. All right, so we're gonna see ourselves a mid Cho'Gath. My biggest concern here for RSG is, what's your range? What your range here is practically non-existent, especially going up against an Orianna that I feel like it's either do or die here in the early game for the Singapore roster.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very afraid that, these solo laners might get bullied out by these range matchups, considering, that solution against the Volibear, that's going to be an Orianna. And looking into the jungle too, that's going to be an Olaf. So things may snowball out of control, especially earlier on when, these supposed tanky champions are not as tanky as expected just yet.
Oh, yeah. I think that's kind of the biggest concern here right now on the side of RSG is, how is this going to play out? Because I think once you hit, like, first ultimate power spike, I think we're going to have ourselves some action coming out toward the top side of the map, especially the fact that it's going to be Illusion. So I wonder, how well is Shinsekai going to be able to weather the storm of this matchup? Or are we going to see Epic try and make an appearance up toward that top side of the map and try and turn things around?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. It might be one of those things where it's going to be top side focus, let Shinsekai get going, let Epic get going on towards the Graves, and hopefully, these quite vulnerable solo laners will not get taken advantage of. And I think it's a little bit confident coming from RSG, but it is the biggest question. Will HKA, because when we saw them in their alpha matchup, they weren't really as proactive as expected. So perhaps, RSG is banking on that sort of performance from Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, and for Hong Kong Attitude here, I'm interested to see how Holo is actually going to perform with the Olaf in particular, because most of the time, at least in the performance that we have seen from Hong Kong Attitude, is this team lives or dies whether or not he is aggressive or he makes an appearance in any of these lanes. They are talented laners. We have seen that before coming out of HKA, especially in their first match of the split. But especially in the second match where they did actually have a couple of winning matchups that should have just dominated, they felt like they were kind of falling behind or a little bit unconfident, maybe, a little passive than they should have been, and then heavily relied on Holo, which he said, well, this is a lane that you should already win. I'm just going to power farm in the jungle.
And yeah, I think that would be the visible problem that will be in this matchup in particular against RSG. So I guess when you said, level 6 power spikes, I fear for HKA because, you got that volley bear, you got that very good all-in composition. So again, it's all about the execution that I'm looking forward to from RSG.
Exactly. So we should be heading on into the Rift quite shortly to get things underway. Of course, this is week 2 of the PCS as the teams are looking to fight their way for an opportunity at the World Championship in China. 2 seeds from the region will be able to represent the region on the global stage. We get ourselves a little bit of spicy action, to say the least. We get to see a mid Cho'Gath. What season is this? We're going back to season 5, season 6. Who knows? We're going to go ahead, load on into the Rift for our first game of the day.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And there we are, onto the Rift for our second week of action. As we shift over as well, we finally catch up with the rest of the world onto 10.12 after playing back on 10.11. And so far, 100% appearance when it comes to picks, the volley bear being enabled. I wonder, like, he's also gone press the attack, so I wonder what kind of build path we're going to see from Shinsekai, because actually, press the attack, that's a bit different. Usually you see the Conquer, I think, most cases for the volley bear.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to see, as I think that this has been the theme coming from RSG, always managing to surprise us from the Shyvana at top side and other different things. In the meantime, though, I can sense everything might be a little bit chaotic when it comes to the level 6, just as we mentioned. Mexi can also help out with certain dives that may be too sticky for RSG with his global ult. So perhaps everything might fall into place. And considering, again, Raven on the Cho'Gath, I believe he does decently when it comes to farming under the tower, at least, when HKA will decide to be a little bit aggressive and take advantage of the mid lane.
Yeah, this early matchup, though, for Shensekai, we'll keep tracks of it, but I believe with Into Illusion, this is a very rough matchup to be in. You're going to be pretty much consistently harassed from range without really any kind of answer. So again, I want to see whether or not Epic is going to try and at least punish Kartis on the top side of the map if he tries to push in very aggressively early to try and get some turret plates. I think also we can look down toward the bot side of the map, because for Eminem, I think this is a prime opportunity for him to show up big time when it comes for HKA, as he has finally gotten something like the Varus, which has always been 100% banned here in the PCS so far.
Yeah, the priority of this matchup in particular has fallen towards more on removing any key picks in the mid lane, so that leaves a lot open when it comes to the bot side of the map. So it's really nice to see Varus again, especially the fact that, you know, we're in this new patch 10.12. There's a bit of adjustment when it comes to his poke build, or rather his poke path when it comes to the Varus. So for now, we'll have to see how this goes.
I forgot they added the whoop whoops onto the Volibear skin when he goes into Q on the police, on the Sergeant Volibear. I forget the exact name it is, but yeah, he has his sirens. I think the sirens are asking for help, though. Meanwhile, bot lane, they have Tack, not afraid to step up into the action. No Ignite available, though, as Eminem did go in for the teleport. So they have to run the exhaust on the side of Tak, so no kill pressure just yet, but some decent damage. Holo might also be coming on down, maybe for a play if Tak wants to bring him in.
Yeah, Mexi does still have that cleanse, so there's that additional defense when it comes to the lane, so it will definitely be very difficult to try and see if they can lock down this Senna. Especially, yep, this is very, very tough.
Senskai not afraid to just jump in onto the action, ends up getting that shield immediately, looking to pop his passive into the 1v1. Unfortunately for him, he's just going to get taken on down as that's first blood going on over to the Lucian.
And that's the difficult part, because you've got two dashes, you have got two gap, well, not gap closers, but imagine that. Kartis still had flash and only had to use a dash to avoid and outplay Shinsekai, and that is very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was hoping that you maybe get the damage from the storm. I think once he got the stun, you just back off there, but still wanted to try and go for the full kill, just not enough damage early on, and that makes that top lane now very annoying and difficult and really requires Epic's attention if he wants to try and turn it around.
Yeah, I was possibly waiting for maybe another stun cooldown, maybe one of the cooldowns on Shinsekai's rotation, but yeah, this could be... You could spell disaster as that first blood went over towards Kartis on that Lucian. And for Epic, though, he is making his way on towards this top side.
And see, again, gonna jump in, ends up popping the storm, but that's gonna be an easy dash away from Kartis, so he'll be just fine. And unfortunately for Shensekai, too, it's really annoying because you can't really freeze that well with the Volibear because he has the natural thing about his passive where he's always pushing you in.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that, again, when it comes to a Kartis here, not only getting ahead, but just really, really hard to catch and try to gap close because of that dash and that flash not even burned just yet. Although, is spotted out by Kusuo here, but they don't have priority to make things happen as Epic with a top side.
Yeah, that's going to be first Dragon, and I know Abrez has mentioned this a couple times so far in the split here in summer, as we've seen a bit of a change-up when it comes to PCS team play style, where instead of opting for, you know, that 10-minute, you know, first Dragon fight, teams aren't afraid to try and get that off the map immediately before even 6 minutes like we just seen here with HKA.
Exactly. When we look at Spring, it was always the trade on first Dragon over the Rift Herald, and the story is a little bit different now, as just as you mentioned, early Drakes, which will equate to, you know, that team contesting towards Rift Herald later on once it spawns.
Shinsekai still waiting here, ends up popping the storm, but again, it's rather difficult. Does have his ultimate this time around, so you might want to try and jump in onto the Lucian, but as long as Kartis has that flash, I think He's going to be just fine. I'll be frank, this lane could be going a lot worse for the Volibear. He's been able to at least keep within 2 waves of CS, which I expected him to be down like more than half CS at the moment. Meanwhile, this mid lane, we haven't seen a whole lot. It's been just a farm fest. Cho'Gath and Orianna, even though Raven...
Cho'Gath and Orianna. Hollow and Epic.
Shockwave. Ooh! That's forcing out a flash immediately here from Raven, so that's going to be a pretty vulnerable Cho'Gath if he's not careful.
Yeah, so far it has been, you know, safe farming, able to keep even when it comes to the CS. So far, it has been the junglers just focusing on farming their respective jungles. And just as you mentioned, it could have gone disastrous for Shinsekai at top side, and I think it's due to the fact that, you know, it's not the duo, the top and jungle duo is not exactly enabling any sort of scary dives, and it is definitely riskier, especially, you know, Shinsekai is already level 6.
Black now is going to be pretty happy. He gets himself a nice, easy Bulu buff. And for poor Raven, I think this is when he's going to start really getting pushed back here in the lane, as he can just pretty much cycle spells off cooldown. Thing about Cho'Gath, though, lots of built-in sustain just based off killing minions there, but still got to be careful, almost taking half his health.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when, you know, Hollow decides to go visit again, considering that Raven does not have in the next few minutes or so, as again, it is starting to be very, very tough for Shinsekai at top side, but at least, again, once Rift Herald spawns, that's a time where Shinsekai will be endangered of, you know, getting ganked, getting dived, as, you know, support most likely will roam at top, and therefore Epic might stay at top side a little bit longer.
Now this is an unfortunate build path that you have to go here on Shinsekai, already having to rush his ninja tabbies into another ruby crystal, so gonna be a little while before this Volibear really starts to come online anywhere on the map. That's gonna be a teleport, though, actually coming out here from Kazuo, as well as Epic coming on nearby. That's gonna be a flash forward, a nice shockwave, though. Eminem ends up popping his own ultimate into the Flay, and that is at least them trading back 1 kill. Actually make it 2. Hell, make it 3, and Shinsekai comes on down, and Resurgence are able to find 3 kills in mid lane.
My, oh my, that was actually a beautiful chain of corruptions from Eminem, but unfortunately they are not able to finish off key targets. And it all started because Raven was poked out in under tower, and it was a perfect set for, you know, that HP. Moonblock, though, had to take the tower hits. And again, that was beautiful. Eminem flashing in, but again, it is not enough.
Raven was able to get that knock up onto the backline members of HKA during that fight and actually prevented any more damage from coming out. So that's the only reason he ended up living. And with that, RSG, they're able to find themselves 3 kills, as well as the first Rift Herald of the game. I know for Shinsekai, too, he's going to be happy. He's like, all right, you know, I had some bad news bears up in the top lane, but now I got a kill underneath my name. I'm going to catch back up on the Cardinals.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you can't really blame HKA. Those HP bars were very deceptive. And after, you know, getting that really nice set from Tak on that Flay, it really seemed that it could go for HKA's favor. But then again, those are really 2 very tanky champions in the mid lane earlier on. So I suppose HKA really wanted the kill, actually losing that end of the deal.
And actually, we see Raven opting in for the GLP right away, with the Glacial Augment, too. That'll help him lock down some key members of HKA if they get a little bit too close onto the action. So, you know, for Resurgence, we're waiting for that early aggressive play to come out, as they have been focusing on trying to make plays happen in the early game. And you know what? It's a gutsy call to be popping a teleport like they did with Kazuo in the lane, but it ends up paying off, and it's a great start here, at least after what looks like to be a little concerning set of events. And with that, Epic going to pop the Rift Herald. In mid lane, they're going to try and knock down this first tier tower.
And the thing is, because HKA wanted to move towards River, they're not able to actually try to clear the wave, maybe damage the Rift Herald a little bit. But for RSG, they will be respecting the rest of the members being able to rotate at mid. And now, with Cloud Drake live, we'll have to see. RSG, primed in position, already has dibs towards River.
Gotta note, though, there is a teleport still available for this Lucian. Shinsekai ends up getting hooked and just chunked out immediately. And without that front line, that could be dangerous on the side of Resurgence. In the end, though, it is going to be Raven securing the Dragon with the Consume. So they're not going to be too afraid, but still, not really what you're looking for on the side of Shinsekai.
Yeah, everything seems to be A-okay on the side of HKA at least, or RSG at least. So 1 kill in exchange of securing that Drake. I think it's still a very fair sacrifice, I suppose. But on the other hand, though, Cardis was left all alone, farming again, already managing to get 3 plates in his pocket, and as well as a board completed in his inventory.
Yeah, we'll just take another look here. It just starts with Shensekai. Ends up just getting caught out here. Did Tak just go for a blind hook? Yes, he did, actually.
It was the Comet that spotted him out.
Oh, sneaky.
Dang. Very sneaky.
Yeah,
And,
but like we
yeah,
mentioned,
well played.
like we mentioned, though, Cardis, up in that top lane, has been able to farm up 3 plates, and he's also picked up his Bork. Now for Shensekai, this is a rather rough time.
It's definitely been very rough. And RSG will be banking on...
Oh no. Has to pop the ultimate just to get back to safety, so you can see a lot of respect has to be shown here from the Volley Bear. As we also had Holo looking to make his appearance.
Shinsekai still not... Oh! Stormbringer expired.
He's still going to try and go for this. Trying to pop it back
Epic's
around.
there.
Oh, Sentinel ultimate coming through, though, and in comes Epic. Calling's going to be used by Kartis to at least try and zone them back. And looks like that will be the end of the play coming out from Resurgence.
A little bit risky, too, as Holo was already lingering around the corner, hoping to get a possible counter gank. And yeah, it is quite unfortunate that Stormbringer was used just to try and escape, and it wasn't available when Epic decided to go for a gank. And now in the meantime, though, for Kartis, we'll be able to pick up the last plate. As there's, again, still not a lot of pressure when it comes to top side, as he escapes every time. That flash has been on for the past 13 minutes.
Oh, here you go.
Teleport?
Very deep teleport ward going to be coming out. Raven also going to be nearby. Kartis has to decide where he wants to go. Ends up getting stunned, silenced, and gets consumed by the Cho'Gath. In comes the rest of the squad from HKA. It was Moonblack forced to flash away. And Resurgence are able to find a kill once again onto the top side of the map.
And you can see that HKA was a little bit hesitant there because the teleport happened for Raven, and I think HKA wasn't able to spot that, and that's the reason why Moonblack was able to not teleport in time. So I think that's the reason why it was sort of a late response, air quote, coming from the side of Moonblack.
Yeah, you saw Holo was on his path over, but Epic was already there, and this Cho'Gath is actually starting to get himself a couple stacks starting off this game, so he's going to start becoming a pretty big boy later on into the game. So you take a look, though, majority of the advantage is onto this Lucian, and for HKA, if Kartis isn't part of these fights, I think Resurgence actually have the edge.
Yeah, they definitely have the edge, and again, as the early game would definitely be tough, but as the game progresses, you know, Volibear as well as this Cho'Gath will definitely be tankier and tankier, and just imagine the sticking potential that they could do in the backline, especially against Eminem, Kartis, and Moonblack. They will definitely have a problem, as again, healing-wise, they don't have much options unless they make the first move and try to burst them down, which will have a harder possibility as the game progresses.
Lots of pings, though, coming out here from Resurgence, looking to set up around the second Rift Herald, all 5 members of the team. I think they gotta be careful here, though. They do see that tower is gonna crack here shortly, so that is first brick. Does it actually get a bonus? No, because the minions did end up taking it here, so just the quick little bit of gold spread across the team as Resurgence finally let that fall, and it was about time for that to actually fall here. Kartis has been knocking on that for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, and I believe Kartis wanted to distance himself out of the tower because there's not a lot of vision in the deeper portion.
Here we go, engage coming out from Kasuo. That's going to force out the stopwatch. Stormbringer was used. There was the ultimate from Eminem, only striking, though, onto the Cho'Gath, and unfortunately the chain of corruption continuing chaining back and forth. Shensekai could go for it. Another shockwave, though, was able to find 2 members, and they take down Shensekai. But Kartis just gets blown to pieces by Raven. Once again, Mexi still alive here toward the side. Knock up, not gonna land. And RSG, they're able to trade back 1 kill, get some flashes, but they do lose 2 members.
Yeah, it's 1-for-2 exchange in favor of HKA, and again, unfortunately, Shinsekai was the first one to get removed, and it was just an explosive, every single damage just funneled towards Shinsekai, and that's the reason why he was not able to do much before the fight even started. And for now, though, Dragon is live. HKA does have advantage. Shinsekai has teleport.
Wow. All right, teleport though coming out from Kazuo. Epic almost gets caught out, has to be careful, able to avoid the piercing arrow. Cardis though, on that front line, not afraid to step up into the fray up against Raven, who's still waiting on his cooldowns. Ultimate will be available, but now both teams have the opportunity to reset. Another hook though coming out from Tak. Descends does connect on Kazuo. In comes Shinsekai, ends up hitting no one, and the 3-man shockwave make it 2 as the flash did come on through, but it won't member as 3 bodies are in the end taken by HKA as Resurgence fall here in mid.
That's how long they were spending at mid lane. It's still not over. Epic.
Oh geez, Epic unfortunately gets taken down here, and Mexi, he is only a Senna with a couple components. Still a long while before he's able to come online here, and unfortunately for Resurgence, game starting to get a little bit out of control here as far as gold goes. Now a 4,500 gold lead for HKA.
And it all started at this double teleport from Cardis and Shinsekai. And it was Tak that managed to get a really nice distance on towards Epic, and that's how the fight started. For me, the biggest thing is Cardis, again, was just free hitting, free raining towards this fight, waiting for cooldowns, and is able to dash later on and be a little bit more aggressive. And again, another nice hook coming from Tak.
Yeah, unfortunately, Shinsekai ends up going over the wall, and just look at that. Woo! Ends up getting 2 flashes out of that ulti, as well as the 3 kills in the end. So I think this is the thing I was starting to mention, especially in draft, was the fact that, you know, HKA just feels like they have such a big range advantage that during these extended fights, if they go into a choke point, I feel like it's an easy victory.
And I think that is the scary part when it comes to RSG's comp. If you will miss your cooldowns when it comes to doing that heavy engage that, you know, as a Volibear, as this Cho'Gath, then again, you will be left open for HKA to just do a counterplay and re-engage, because that is definitely the scary part when it comes to HKA's composition. And right at the moment, though, it is going to be Rift Herald. That is the juicy target that RSG just wanted to get, but unfortunately, HKA again is ahead in this game.
And I have to question, because there's been a couple times that we've, you know, talked to Jensen, and he wanted to see, you know, Shinsekai be one of the key components when it came to this roster, but he ends up getting put into this Volibear matchup where, again, he still has yet to finish a full item other than his upgraded boots, whereas Cardis, he's already looking toward his Black Cleaver. And the overall draft here, I like the idea, you know, you want to try out this Volibear, you might be able to get a sudden pick, but it feels like HK were ready for this in the very beginning. And it feels like we're going to see a rather slow death here from RSG unless they try and force some fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, HKA already having control over this red side jungle of RSG, and now they're making their way towards top side. And for Raven, I am absolutely scared for him, as the rest of the members are somewhere else around the map. And for now, though, HKA will decide to just get that reset. But again, lots of bounties building towards these 4 members, except the support. So I'm very, you know, RC can maybe look into cashing those in, but at the same time, it's been very difficult in their encounters so far.
The issue with the bounties is you do need to find the kills, and for RSG, we've seen now the last 2 fights, they have traded like, you know, 1 or 2 back, and there is still that possibility that, you know, Raven might be able to find a massive knockup. Actually, wow, okay, Shinsekai is going into, I think, back into a Black Cleaver at this point. Item build is all over the place. Unfortunately, this has been a common complaint I've had for Shinsekai, is unfortunately every time he gets a new interesting champ pickup, equally as interesting is usually his items, because he has to pick up so many components, because often he's been put down so far in lane.
Yeah, absolutely. The story hasn't been, you know, Shinsekai snowballing into the lane. It has been very tough for the past 3 matches that we've seen from RSG. In the meantime, though, got Shinsekai at least wanting to get the eye out before anything else. As unfortunately, charge will still connect.
Charge will connect, but for now, Shelly goes back to the Void, and last time we'll see her. Rift Herald no longer. Baron on the table for both these squads. To be honest, though, you do see they are getting interested. Tak is going to get knocked up. Has to be careful. Hollow does get rooted, but he is an Olaf. Still fairly tanky at this point, as he did go into the Cinderhulk build. And that will be pretty much it here as RSG can't find anything mid.
Yeah, if they do want to lock someone down, I feel like Holo will be the most difficult one to lock down with the Ragnarok. So, at the moment though, at least when you see that Shirelius not used by attack, you do have that Ghost at least to try and slow things down on your end to just try and slow down the engage.
And now you also have this Lucian that's just going to go into the side lane, and honestly, I don't think there's anyone that can actually contest him at this point. Once he has his Black Cleaver and the board completed, especially if Shensekai tries to walk up, he's just going to get ripped apart if he steps too far forward.
Yeah, everyone's definitely going to get kited, so they really have to try and hold them down. Good thing though, you know, you've got that Volibear that can sort of easily stun a target, but at the same time, if you can't reach them, then I don't think the CC is going to be possible. And for now, HKA again has full control over this dragon, so RSG for sure is a little bit pressure to see if they can punish someone that is out of position.
Yeah, and unfortunately too there, now you're looking at Cloud Soul for Hong Kong Attitude if they're able to pick up the next Drake, where for RSG, that actually would have been kind of nice to have themselves, because you could maybe, you know, handle a little bit of the poke that would come out from this Varus or maybe even this Orianna. Maybe you can turn out some of the fights from the regen, but if that gets picked up here by Hong Kong Attitude, I feel like Resurgence, they really don't have many options getting back to this game.
Yeah, they gotta get press that go button when it comes to getting that engage, and I feel like Kusuo, there's a lot of pressure on this Nautilus to try and find someone that they can reach with his Q. And for now though, it seems to me Shensekai will go for possibly the Triforce first, and they're just finding to see whether or not they can punish someone that is out of position, but HKA has been playing very safe.
Yeah, you know, HK playing nice and safe, you know, clean here and there. RSG, they did find themselves the opportunity to strike early on the map. We haven't seen that really transition, and you know what? Seems like dogs and cherries for HK at this point. Now, Holo appears here into the mid lane. Mexi gotta be a little bit careful. Almost gets hit by the Chain of Corruption, but Kusuo is actually the one to tank it. Piercing Arrow won't find its target, and they are able to back off.
And at the moment, though, you see Cardis split pushing still at the bottom side of the map with Flash available, so everything's still pretty much available. 2 items ahead of, again, Shensekai there, which means, you know, more pressure at bot side. Then HK has more entrance towards this Baron, more control over this part of the map.
There you go. Baron is going to get started here. They actually do see Cardis on the bot side of the map, so I don't think Resurgence actually think that a Baron is actually taking place at this point. Now the question mark pings are coming out, but guess what? It's already down to 5,000 health, and Resurgence Epic is way too far away to even try and contest this. Tak is going to run interference, and just like that, it's going to be Baron secured here by Hong Kong Attitude.
Good call by HK. Again, RSG was definitely not prepared for that. Again, that there's a ton of vision going around HK, so they have information. They've managed to set the waves on the side lanes, and that's the reason why they were very confident when it comes to getting that Baron. And now RSG is going to be even more defensive than before. Wait till they're able to get that Baron to expire and see whether or not they can sort of devalue that Baron buff from HK.
You even see there, HK, they're even playing the mind games. They say, all right, you know what? Cardis, you go on the bot side of the map. If they spot you out, well, guess what? They'll just assume we aren't doing Baron or anything. Maybe we're trying to set up for a Drake in 2 minutes, but a lack of vision ends up costing Resurgence. Now, Mexi might get caught out if he's not careful. Holo getting very aggressive. Tak looking for the fake hook in the wrong direction. Culling, though, comes out from Cardis, and he will find himself the kill, gunning down Mexi in the jungle.
That is quite unfortunate. You know, Holo tunnel vision so much on towards Mexi. Mexi was just caught off guard, and Flash and Cleanse did not help at all, as the amount of damage coming from HK is just too much. You saw even Epic tried to dash to probably body block for Mexi, but it is no use.
And now you're looking at something around the course of a 9,000 gold lead here for HKA. You know, Shensekai, you're dancing, but you still don't have a completed item at 25 minutes. I don't care if you're having fun. This has unfortunately gone a bit awry for the side of Resurgence. The game plan, the counter pick coming out from Cardis, as well as the staff over at HKA. And you know what? Skywalk even flexing a little bit of his muscles, considering there's a lot of respect from the coaching staff within the PCS that he can turn any roster into possibly a championship title contender.
Yeah, and it's amazing too, considering, again, you know, HKA has a lot of changes coming from spring. You know, Jimyan out, Moonblack in. 3Z is not in the roster anymore. You've got Cartes at the top side of the map. So a lot of young talent that is hoping to make their name known when it comes to the PCS.
And now you have Ocean Soul available for HKA in 40 seconds already. Have control on the bot side of the map. You see a lot of things coming out. Cartes here, if you get caught out like this, that might be disaster as the shutdown finally comes through. And that is a questionable call coming out here from the top lane of HKA. Ended up just face-checking a rush. Didn't know there were 3 people around the corner, and they may do the same here. Stack is going to get knocked up. It's going to be a shockwave. Holo on the backside, at least going to try and rip apart this Cho'Gath. It's still not enough. Shinsuke able to find himself the kill. Epic going to come back on over the wall. Flash forward, piercing arrow from M&M. Finds its target onto Raven. Hook from Kasuo, but there's just not enough damage anymore as Mexi is going to get shredded. Epic becomes the next target. It's an unstoppable Olaf into a double kill, and sure, you got yourself the quick, you know, thumbs up coming out from Kasuo, but in the end, it's HKA cleaning house, triple kill for the Olaf.
And that's gonna be an ace, and that is going to be HK marching towards the base as minions have been piling, and a teleport even being used by Cartes to try and finish off the game.
And he rips apart these towers in an instant. And unfortunately for RSG, they thought they had the pick, but all did they know it was just a bait in the end. HKA able to open up week 2 with a victory, and RSG shall fall here in the first round robin.
This is absolutely a very nice, you know, morale booster for HKA. Again, after falling in such a very harsh defeat against Alpha last week, they're looking really, really solid in this match in particular.
Yeah, HKA, it just seemed like from the beginning here of that match, it felt like, you know, draft was a little bit more in their favor. I'll give it to RSG. Try to go something different. They said, all right, Volibear is available. Let's try and pick it up. But little did they know, HKA had the answer waiting. And even with all, you know, the swap arounds, the last second Cho'Gath pickup as well, just wasn't enough to kind of turn this game back.
Yeah, and it seems to me, you know, any team that would face RSG would always have to prepare for not only 1 but 2 surprises. And again, HKA was not phased at all, and really, just as you mentioned, won the draft. And again, Cartes really gave Shinsuke a very, very hard time at top side, and it was just snowballed out of control.
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do, I think, on the side of Shinsuke. And that's the problem, too. When you go with something with a Graves that's just going to be trying to power farm throughout the jungle, he isn't going to be necessarily there to provide gank pressure. If anything, the only time we saw Epic actually make an appearance on the map was for a counter gank when HK were actually telegraphing their play pretty early on.
Yeah, I mean, they had this really nice flank, deep ward teleport coming from Raven, but unfortunately it did not equate to more aggressive plays around the map, as this little bit of toss in the middle has been, I believe, where it got out of control for RSG. And again, they took so long in this mid lane that we saw 2 shockwaves in this exchange.
Yeah, that's the thing. It went long enough at this point that I was just like, oh, okay, we'll see how it is. So, in the end, HKA will find themselves the victory. RSG will fall to start off their week 2. Still, though, plenty of games coming up in the round robin. HKA, they're not even done yet. They're a tougher opponent, you could say. PSG waiting here for their 3rd game, actually, today in the schedule.
Yeah, we did mention, you know, morale booster, very, very important, especially that they have to face against, you know, the MSS, the PCS champions, PSG, later on the 3rd game, I believe, today.
Yeah, and I'll be frank, I don't think this was a clean enough victory for HKA to necessarily say, yeah, you know what, we'll be able to take down PSG. If they really wanted to have a shot at taking down PSG, I think you needed to have a picture-perfect game here up against Resurgence, considering how well PSG have been playing. Let's go ahead, though, and take a look toward our MVP. It is going to be Holo in the jungle on the Olaf.
Yep, that triple kill at the end, I don't think, RSG had any sort of answer to a rampaging Olaf here. 7-0-5, Holo did his job, is able to create pressure off of the map, burn a bunch of flashes, and again, it just really spun out of control for HKA.
Yeah, I don't think many people expect the rampaging Olaf to try and do something like triple there at the end of the game. And I felt like there's some of these team fights in particular from Resurgence, I felt like there was a lack of clear direction on where they wanted to try and apply most of their damage or most of their CC. Raven always had his eyes fixated on whoever was close enough to try and consume, rather than trying to wait that out and use, the CC for the backline carries of HKA.
Yeah, when we look at the last few matches, I think RSG was on different pages. You see Kusuo and Mexi wanting to clear the bottom wave, but there's the other three members wanted to start a fight. So perhaps it might be a little bit different if all 5 members were around.
As you guys saw there in your bottom left, of course, we saw plenty of action here coming out in the PCS. Our next game is going to be Berjaya Dragons taking on Liab. Both teams currently winless when it comes to the summer split here so far. So one of these teams is at least going to be able to break their win-loss streak up against the other. Another one's still going to be winless, so it's a little bit concerning. And I'm interested to see whether or not Liab have been able to figure out some of the difficulties that we have seen on the Rift during summer. We are going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, though, it's going to be that exact match.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.